Chapter 121, The Mystery of His Origins, 2, Xianyuan Star. This planet was clearly called Xianyuan Star, yet the cultivation technique he practiced was named the Xianyuan Secret Art. Was there some connection between the two? Was his arrival on this planet merely a coincidence? Yang Lei pondered these questions. As you said, what was it Mother didn't want me to do? Yang Lei asked, looking at Yang Yu. She didn't want you to cultivate martial arts. She hoped you could live an ordinary, peaceful life, passing through this lifetime, Yang Yu replied. Live an ordinary life, with my roots and foundation crippled, becoming a universally known waste, could I still live an ordinary life? Yang Lei smiled bitterly in his heart. If it were someone with weaker mental fortitude, they would have likely succumbed to despair and committed suicide long ago. What exactly happened to my mother? Is she truly dead? Furthermore, you mentioned a transaction with her, what exactly was it? Yang Lei continued to ask. Regarding your mother's affairs, I'm not entirely clear, but she is indeed not dead. She has already left the Chongwu continent, Yang Yu paused. I had originally intended to keep everything hidden, but I never expected you would cultivate to the great perfection of the martial king realm and win first place in the family trial. You will undoubtedly participate in the Fengyun selection. With your innate talent, you are bound to be noticed by the Xuanji sect. Therefore, all of this is heaven's will. That is why I called you here to tell you these things. As for the transaction between your mother and me, there's no harm in telling you. Your mother, carrying you at the time, was being hunted. I stumbled upon her by chance and lent her a hand. Afterward, I took her in, and she became my nominal concubine, thus giving birth to you. In return, she gave me a cultivation technique, allowing my cultivation to break through my own limits and reach my current realm. The martial god realm? Indeed. I went into secluded cultivation for a year and finally broke through the great perfection of the martial saint realm to enter the martial god realm, Yang Yu said with a hint of pride. The martial god realm, indeed. Yang Lei sighed, wondering how much longer it would take for him to reach the martial god realm. You needn't envy me. With your talent, entering the martial god realm is only a matter of time, Yang Yu stated. I hope so. Yang Lei asked, looking at Yang Yu. Where is the Wuji continent? How does one get there? Hearing this, Yang Yu looked intently at Yang Lei and said, with your current cultivation, going to the Wuji continent would be courting death. If you truly wish to go to the Wuji continent, I suggest waiting until you've broken through to the martial god realm. Without the martial god realm, you would have no way to establish yourself there. Don't worry, I understand this. I won't venture forth before I possess sufficient strength. Yang Lei would naturally not be so foolish. Given what he had said, whether true or false, his mother's origins were certainly not simple. Moreover, her enemies would not be simple either. If he lacked sufficient strength and his identity were discovered, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now that you can cultivate, and your cultivation has reached the martial king realm, it's time for you to receive certain things. Yang Yu stood up, walked to a bookshelf, and gently pulled it. With a soft creaking sound, a secret chamber appeared behind it. Enter. Yang Lei heard this and followed. The secret chamber held a multitude of items, everything imaginable was there, weapons, armor, talismans, elixirs, spirit herbs, cultivation techniques, all manner of necessities. It was truly a miniature treasure trove. These items made Yang Lei's eyes gleam with desire. Truly, he was worthy of being called the mighty king. Stepping out, Yang Yu retrieved a box and handed it to Yang Lei. This was left for you by your mother. Perhaps she had long foreseen such a day, Yang Yu said. With your current cultivation, you cannot open this box. Only when you enter the martial saint realm will you truly be able to access the information within. And this storage ring was also left by your mother, simply drip a drop of blood to bind it. Yang Lei accepted both items. Though the box was small, it was not light. What surprised Yang Lei was why it wasn't placed directly inside the storage ring. It was somewhat puzzling, but he didn't ask further. Yang Yu, seeing how Yang Lei's eyes had previously reddened with desire for those items, couldn't help but chuckle and say, those items, if you fancy any, just take them. Take them all if you wish. To Yang Yu, now that his cultivation had broken through the great perfection of martial saint and entered the martial god realm, these were all external objects he no longer needed. Of course, they could still be used by others, such as his son Yang Tian, but he was not diligent and showed no ambition. On the other hand, Yang Yu wasn't bad at all. She was very diligent, her talent was excellent, and she had already entered the martial king realm today. All right. Yang Lei shook his head and said, on the path of cultivation, relying solely on external objects yields no true benefit. To reach the peak and become a peak expert, one must rely on their own efforts, not on external aids for improvement. Not many can see through this point. You are very impressive. I only clearly understood this when I broke through to the great perfection of martial saint. All kinds of elixirs are ultimately external objects, extremely detrimental to future cultivation advancement. If one wishes to break through to the martial god realm and enter a higher level, one must lay a solid foundation. I presume I no longer have the opportunity in this lifetime. I hope you and little you can reach even higher realms, Yang Yu sighed. Since you don't need these items, let's go out. Yang Lei nodded slightly and turned to exit the secret chamber. I know a little about the matters between you and Tian'er. I hope you'll do me a favor and not hold it against him, Yang Yu said after leaving the secret chamber. Don't worry, I won't hold it against him. To Yang Lei now, Yang Tian was simply not considered an opponent. He was merely a small fry, not worth mentioning. That's good then. After all, you two are still brothers. Do you still not wish to call me father? Father? Yang Lei shook his head, still unable to utter the word. If you don't wish to, then forget it. Remember, the mighty king's estate will always be your home. If anything happens, you can come to me. If I can help you, I will. Yang Yu understood clearly that after this, Yang Lei would undoubtedly move out of the mighty king's estate. The Yang family was too small, it could not contain such a true dragon. A golden-scaled creature cannot long remain in a mere pond. Once it encounters the wind and clouds, it shall transform into a dragon. Watching Yang Lei's departing back, Yang Yu couldn't help but sigh. Was the rise of this young man a blessing or a curse? With a void physique, his cultivation speed was terrifying. Yang Yu had already sensed this. He hadn't imagined that Yang Lei, merely a year ago, was a waste who couldn't even successfully cultivate qi refinement, yet in the short span of a year, he had achieved such accomplishments, becoming a cultivator at the great perfection of the martial king realm. He would soon be able to step into the martial emperor realm. This was truly unprecedented. Equals 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 Chapter 122, The Limitless Realm. 1. What did father say to you? Yang Yu had been waiting outside the entire time. Yang Lei shook his head. Nothing. Wasn't it to legitimize your mother, and to legitimize you? Yang Yu looked a little surprised. Yang Lei shook his head. It wasn't about those things. How could father be like that? I'll go talk it out with father and make him grant you your rightful place. Upon hearing this, Yang Yu was about to go find Yang Yu. Hearing this, Yang Lei hastily shook his head and said, no need, it's really nothing. Yang Yu was very surprised to hear Yang Lei say this. If it were before, he definitely wouldn't have stopped her, but now he was holding her back. What could father have said to him to make Yang Lei act like this? Yang Yu grew increasingly curious, wanting to know exactly what had been discussed between father and Yang Lei. Are you afraid father will punish you? Yang Yu asked. If father wants to punish you, don't we still have Grand Elder? Just find Grand Elder. Yang Lei chuckled. It's nothing, second sister, don't worry. You're acting so strange. How can I not worry? Exactly what did father say to you? Yang Yu pressed. These matters have nothing to do with you, it's between him and me. You don't need to worry about what he'll do to me. Second sister, rest assured, I'm perfectly fine. Yang Lei said with a slight smile. Why do these matters have nothing to do with me? I'm your second sister, and you're my younger brother. Do you mean you don't want to acknowledge me as your sister anymore? Yang Yu raised an eyebrow, looking at him with great displeasure as she spoke. Hearing this, Yang Lei hastily offered a placating smile and said, how could that be? Am I that kind of person? Then why won't you tell me what actually happened? Yang Yu said, dissatisfied. Alright, actually, I intend to move out of the Uiwu royal mansion. Yang Lei thought for a moment before speaking. Upon hearing this, Yang Yu hurriedly grabbed Yang Lei's hand and asked, why? Why do you want to move out of the Uiwu royal mansion? Could it be that father wants to kick you out? How could he do such a thing? I'll go beg father, he dotes on me the most. Seeing her reaction, Yang Lei hastily explained, second sister, please listen to me. It's not like that. He isn't kicking me out, it was my request. Your own request? Why? The more Yang Yu listened, the more confused she became, unable to understand why Yang Lei wanted to move out. It's not for any particular reason. One always needs to become independent eventually. Besides, after the wind cloud selection concludes in a short while, I'm certainly headed to the profound mechanism sect. It's better to move out sooner to get used to it. Naturally, Yang Lei couldn't tell Yang Yu about his true discussion with Yang Yu, so he could only use this excuse. What you say makes sense, then. I'll move out and live with you too. What do you think? Yang Yu considered it, felt that Yang Lei's words were reasonable, and then spoke. Upon hearing this, Yang Lei was a little dumbfounded, never expecting she would actually propose such a condition. I say, second sister, you don't need to do that. Besides, once the wind cloud selection is over, you'll also be going to the profound mechanism sect. During this time, you should spend more time with Grand Madam, because it will be a long time before you see her again later. This. Of course, if you're willing to part with Grand Madam, then I won't object. Yang Lei said, looking at her. All right. After a long moment, Yang Yu still sighed, made her decision, and then asked again. Little brother, where will you live after you move out? How can I find you? Inside the Oiwu royal mansion, in the study, Dongfang Xiyu brought a bowl of soup to Yang Yu's side. Husband, Yang Lei came to find me today, saying he wants to move out. Is this your intention? Dongfang Xiyu said, looking at Yang Yu. Hearing this, Yang Yu put down the brush in his hand, looked up, and glanced at his wife, saying in his usual tone, it is my intention. Why? Yang Lei's talent today is extraordinary, he's no longer that good for nothing. He would be of great help to our Oiwu royal mansion. Tian'er is unpromising, but if our Oiwu royal mansion has Yang Lei to look after it in the future, it will be much better. Dongfang Xiyu was extremely puzzled. Today, Yang Lei possessed immense potential. If a clan had a supreme expert guarding it, as long as he was unharmed, that clan would prosper indefinitely, and no one would dare to seek trouble. But if a clan had no expert to hold its ground, then at most, that clan would only prosper for a time before quickly declining. You don't need to concern yourself with this matter. Yang Lei has his own choices, his own path to walk, and the Oiwu royal mansion is too small, it's not his stage. Yang Yu naturally understood his wife's meaning. I really don't know what you're thinking. Dongfang Xiyu shook her head. Yang Lei returned to his courtyard. Shachu, Chunlan, pack up your things. We must leave this place today. Yang Lei said to the two servant girls. Leave here? Young master, are we moving to the inner compound? Both Shachu and Chunlan's faces lit up with joy. No. Oh, then, young master, where are we moving to? Shachu's expression showed a hint of disappointment. Today, the master had returned, yet they still hadn't moved to the inner compound. Could it be that young master still hadn't gained the master's approval? Of course, this was merely her internal speculation, she wouldn't dare voice it aloud. Moving out. Ah. Young master, what is this all about? Why must it be like this? Chunlan said, startled. Don't ask why. Just pack your things as I told you. Of course, if you don't wish to follow me, you can also stay in the Oiwu royal mansion. I'll just have a word with Grand Madam. Yang Lei said, waving his hand impatiently. No, please. We'll stay with young master. Shachu hurriedly replied, and Chunlan also quickly nodded. Since they had already decided to follow Yang Lei, this third young master, they would follow him to the very end. Decided? Yang Lei asked. I can tell you this, once you leave the Oiwu royal mansion with me, if you ever change your mind later, there will be no chance to return to the mansion. There will be no room for reconsideration. You must think this through very, very carefully. Don't come to me then and say something, because by that time, nothing can be changed. The two girls exchanged a glance, then nodded slightly, their voices firm. We've decided. No matter where, we will follow you, young master. Upon hearing this, a satisfied smile appeared on Yang Lei's face. You will definitely be proud of your decision today. All right, go pack your things. We'll leave this place shortly. equals 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 Chapter 123, Wuji Ring. 2. Yes, understood, young master, we'll go pack. The two maids nodded lightly and walked into the room. Yang Lei entered the room, looked at the memorial tablet, and gave a wry smile. His mother was not dead, so this item no longer held any meaning. He struck out with a palm, and it instantly turned to ashes. Ha Truck, who had just witnessed this scene, was utterly stunned. What are you doing? Young master, how could you? Ha Truck was startled to see Yang Lei clearly destroy the memorial tablet. Scared? Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. You've misunderstood. The reason I destroyed this is because it's superfluous. My mother is still alive, it's just that I am too weak. One day, I will surely reunite with her. Yang Lei said, clenching his fists. So it wasn't as she had imagined. Hearing Yang Lei's explanation, Ha Truck sighed in relief. I'm so sorry, young master, It's fine. Go quickly. Yang Lei said. Half an hour later, everything had been meticulously packed. Looking at the numerous large and small bundles, Yang Lei frowned slightly. He then took out 2 storage rings, which he had personally refined, each with 3 cubic meters of space, and tossed them to the 2 maids. You 2 use these to store your things. Storage rings? Ha Truck and Xianlan were shocked, never expecting their young master to suddenly produce 2 storage rings. Yes, these are storage rings. You should know how to use them, right? Yang Lei asked. The 2 maids nodded lightly. We know. Good that you know. Both of these rings have 3 cubic meters of storage space. Put whatever you need to organize inside. And these 2 rings will belong to you from now on. Yang Lei said. Young master, these rings, are they really ours? Ha Truck's voice trembled slightly, unable to believe her ears, overwhelmed with excitement. Xianlan was equally thrilled. Of course they're real. It's just a ring, why are you so excited? Yang Lei said indifferently. Thank you, young master, thank you, young master. Receiving confirmation, the 2 maids were ecstatic and hurriedly expressed their gratitude. 10 minutes later, Yang Lei led the 2 maids to the C-Tin residence. Alright, this is our new home. You 2 get familiar with it and tidy up, placing your belongings properly. I'm going to cultivate. Remember, don't disturb me unless it's something important. Yang Lei instructed. Understood, young master, rest assured, we know what to do. Xianlan replied. Yang Lei nodded lightly. After they left, Yang Lei sat down and took out the ring his mother had left behind. He dripped a drop of blood to claim ownership. What surprised Yang Lei was that this ring clearly had 100 cubic meters of space, and furthermore, as his cultivation increased, the storage space of the ring would continuously expand. After claiming ownership, a portion of information was transmitted from the ring. The ring was called the Wuji Ring, and it was the token of the Wuji sect master. The Wuji sect was the largest sect on the Wuji continent. For his mother to leave him such a ring proved that she definitely had an inseparable connection with the Wuji sect. Thus, if he wanted to find her, he just needed to look for the Wuji sect. This was a crucial piece of information. As soon as the ring acknowledged him as its master, Yang Lei could use it. So he placed the box he couldn't open inside, and then proceeded to inspect the items within the ring. He hadn't known until he looked, and once he looked, he was shocked. This ring clearly contained several thousand spirit stones. Upon closer inspection, there were 3,100 low-grade spirit stones, 150 mid-grade spirit stones, and 6 high-grade spirit stones. This was an enormous fortune. On the Chongwu continent, spirit stones were rare items. One low-grade spirit stone could almost be exchanged for an earth-grade pill, which showed just how scarce and precious spirit stones were. Apart from spirit stones, the ring also contained some pills. These pills were also extraordinary. The majority were essence condensing pills, including earth-grade essence condensing pills and heaven-grade essence condensing pills. Besides the essence condensing pills, there were also the even more precious pure yang pills. These pure yang pills were not comparable to essence condensing pills. One low-grade pure yang pill could be exchanged for 10 heaven-grade essence condensing pills. This demonstrated just how valuable pure yang pills were. Other than these, there was nothing else. However, these items were of little use to Yang Lei currently. Of course, once his cultivation broke through and he entered the martial saint or martial god realm, these items would become essential. According to the information within the ring, Yang Lei also clearly understood that once one entered the cultivation world, gold and silver, and other currencies of the mortal world, were no longer used for transactions. Instead, essence condensing pills and pure yang pills served as currency. Of course, spirit stones were also a type of currency. Just then, the system's voice resounded. Ding! Main Quest 1 initiated, the player must become the Wuji sect master within 100 years. A main quest had actually appeared. Yang Lei was well aware that main quests were mandatory and without any options. Furthermore, main quests often seemed difficult, and the penalty for failure was also severe. Main Quest 1, become the Wuji sect master within 100 years. Quest failure, Wuji ring disappears, cultivation halved, and 2 auxiliary system functions randomly deducted. Quest reward, obtain all items within the Wuji ring, level increased by 5 ranks, accumulated points increased by 100 million, and gain control of the Wuji continent. Continent control authority, control a continent, capable of wielding the power of the entire continent. If all 4 continents of Xianyuan Star are completely controlled, one can obtain control of Xianyuan Star and achieve the immortal Tao. Seeing this main quest reward, Yang Lei couldn't help but gape. This reward was simply too generous. Control of the Wuji continent, Yang Lei naturally understood what this meant. Controlling a continent meant that if he completed this main quest, the power of the entire continent would be under his control. If he then controlled the other 3 continents, Chongwu continent, Mingwu continent, and Chongde continent, he could obtain control of Xianyuan Star. At that time, he would be able to achieve the immortal Tao, and only by achieving the immortal Tao could he truly be able to return to Earth. Chapter 124, Silver Ranked Assassin. 1. However, for now, these were mere thoughts. The right to control the entire profound origin star, how could it be so easily obtained? Who knew how many powerful experts resided on this profound origin star? Today, he hadn't even reached the martial saint realm. Controlling the revered martial continent was already immensely difficult, let alone the limitless continent. Rice needed to be eaten grain by grain, one couldn't rush. Calming his fervent heart, Yang Lei stood up and exited his room. He saw Xia Zhu and Chen Man sitting idly in the courtyard, enjoying the cool breeze and gazing at the moon. Young master, everything has been arranged. Seeing Yang Lei emerge, Xia Zhu and the other quickly stood up and addressed him. There's no need to be so nervous. I won't scold you. Yang Lei gestured for them to sit down. He had discovered today that the cultivation levels of his 2 maidservants were indeed a bit low, one was a 2nd stage martial master, and the other merely a 1st stage martial master. After a thought, he recalled having some leftover pills he had refined. He took out 3 bottles of pills, all of them were meridian unblocking pills, and one of the bottles also contained 2 earth essence pills. Naturally, these were all 10/10 purity pills, and they would be of great help to their cultivation. These pills are for you to raise your cultivation. As my maidservants, your cultivation is too low, it makes me lose face. Yang Lei handed the pills to Xia Zhu, adding, use these pills yourselves to improve your cultivation. Do not speak of this outside. If others were to find out, you would essentially be seeking death. Xia Zhu received the pills with great joy and repeatedly nodded in response to Yang Lei's instructions, assuring him. Only a fool would reveal such a matter. Alright, go cultivate now. Strive to break through quickly. Yang Lei waved his hand. Yes, young master. The 2 girls, overjoyed, returned to their rooms to cultivate and raise their cultivation. Yang Lei remained alone in the courtyard, sipping tea. Suddenly, a premonition of unease arose within him. Yang Lei's brows furrowed, and he stood up. Who's there? Show yourself. True Eagle Eyes. As soon as True Eagle Eyes activated, he spotted his opponent not far behind him, perched on a large tree. There was clearly a hidden figure, masked. Yang Lei sneered. This fellow still thought he hadn't been discovered. If he didn't possess True Eagle Eyes, he truly wouldn't have noticed. But unfortunately for the assassin, his true eagle eyes could penetrate all disguises. No matter how formidable the opponent's stealth technique, it was useless. He then activated his appraisal art. Heavenly Star Pavilion, Silver-ranked assassin, Chujio. Cultivation, 3rd stage martial emperor. Proficient in disguise and assassination. Another assassin, and a silver-ranked assassin from the Heavenly Star Pavilion at that. Yang Lei's heart sank. This time, they had actually sent an assassin, and from the Heavenly Star Pavilion no less. This was troublesome. According to the Heavenly Star Pavilion's rules, once a mission was accepted, it would be pursued until completion, unless the employer cancelled it. Otherwise, it would be a fight to the death. This was truly difficult to deal with, and it would bring him endless trouble. The one who hired an assassin to kill him could only be Yang Bing or Yang Tianlei. Besides them, he hadn't offended anyone else. Yang Lei was very clear on this point. If it was an assassin coming to kill him, Yang Lei would show no mercy. With the soul-chasing bow in hand, he shot an arrow like lightning towards the masked individual. The masked assassin in black was instantly startled and hastily retreated. However, the arrow was too fast to dodge. He swung his dagger. Clang. The arrow was parried. That one arrow had been blocked, which was within Yang Lei's expectations. A 3rd stage martial emperor assassin, if he didn't possess such skill, how could he possibly be a silver-ranked assassin of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? He fired another arrow. The arrow, released from the soul-chasing bow in Yang Lei's hand, transformed into a streak of black light, flying towards assassin Chujio like a meteor. Its speed was extreme, making it difficult for anyone to clearly perceive. Dodge. This time, the silver-ranked assassin Chujio immediately dodged, which came as a surprise to Yang Lei. At this moment, Yang Lei put away his soul-chasing bow. This fellow's dodging speed was so fast, if he continued to use the soul-chasing bow, it wouldn't be very effective. Seeing Yang Lei retract his soul-chasing bow, a glint appeared in Chujio's eyes. He then charged towards Yang Lei, instantly appearing before him. Chujio, silver-ranked assassin of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, I'd like to see what tricks you have up your sleeve. Yang Lei gripped the wind concealment blade in his hand, speaking coldly. Chujio trembled upon hearing this, his movements immediately slowing by a fraction. He hadn't expected Yang Lei to know his identity, let alone his name. His name was a closely guarded secret, known only to his superiors. Could there be a traitor within the Heavenly Star Pavilion? Or was he his superior? But that was impossible. His superior was a middle-aged man, while Yang Lei was merely a 16-year-old youth. The difference was too vast. An opportunity. In that brief moment of Chujio's astonishment, the blade in Yang Lei's hand moved like lightning, aiming directly for Chujio's throat. But Chujio was indeed worthy of being a silver-ranked assassin of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. In the instant the blade's edge was about to make contact, his body contorted, barely managing to evade the fatal blow. However, Yang Lei's blade grazed his scalp, slicing off a large chunk of his hair. Chujio instantly broke out in a cold sweat. If he had been a fraction of a second slower, his head would have parted ways with his body. Seeing Chujio actually evade this strike, Yang Lei was also somewhat startled. However, his attack wouldn't stop there. This was a battle, a life-or-death struggle, not a spar. Thus, Yang Lei unleashed his killing move. Windblade 7 kills, 4 kills united. The blade in Yang Lei's hand transformed into a long, formidable blade edge, striking towards Chujio without any fancy moves. The speed of that strike was several times faster than before. Chujio knew he couldn't dodge. Tightly gripping his dagger, he secretly cursed in his heart. This fellow appeared to be only a 6th-stage martial king, yet his true cultivation was actually terrifying. Even those mid-stage martial emperors were no more than this. Clang! The dagger clashed with the wind concealment blade. The immense force immediately sent Chujio flying backwards, after which he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His internal organs were severely injured. He turned and fled. Yang Lei, who had retreated 3 steps, saw Chujio attempting to escape. How could he possibly give him this chance? He put away the wind concealment blade, grabbed the soul-chasing bow, and drew the string taut like a full moon. Whoosh! Into this arrow, Yang Lei infused a vast amount of true qi, making its speed more than twice as fast as before. Immediately afterward, the sound of the arrow piercing a body rang out. Then came a tragic cry. Chujio was struck and fell to the ground, convulsing twice before falling still. Equals 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 Chapter 125, Silver Badge Assassin. 2. Junloi slowly walked towards So-kyu, a cold sneer forming in his heart. This fellow was clearly still feigning death. The system hadn't transmitted any notification of a kill or level up, allowing Junloi to clearly ascertain that this guy was still alive, at most only injured. To attempt to deal with him by feigning death was simply an absurd pipe dream. Young master, who is he? At this moment, Swanlon emerged, holding a flask of warm water, steam gently rising from it. Junloi's eyes swiveled, and a brilliant idea struck him. Swanlon, bring me that warm water you're holding. Although she didn't understand what Junloi intended to do, Swanlon still complied, offering the flask. Junloi took the warm water, circulated his jinchi to heat it, raising its temperature even further. He then took out a pill. This was a special elixir Junloi had concocted out of boredom. It had no other effect than to make one feel an unbearable itch. Dropping the elixir into the steaming hot water, Junloi then splashed the water towards So-kyu. He secretly rejoiced in his heart. You want to feign death? I'll let you die from ecstasy. The elixir Junloi had concocted was called the ecstasy and agony elixir. After being afflicted, one would feel an unbearable itch all over their body. Not only that, but their very heart would also itch, hence the name, the ecstasy and agony elixir. Junloi had concocted it purely out of curiosity a while ago, but after making it, he had never found a test subject. This time, So-kyu could be considered a free experimental guinea pig. The steaming hot water immediately splattered onto So-kyu's body. For a practitioner at the martial emperor realm, not to mention a bit of boiling water, even being directly branded by a red-hot iron wouldn't necessarily injure him. But that was no ordinary warm water, it was warm water infused with a special ingredient. Upon contact with his skin, So-kyu immediately felt something amiss. His entire body began to itch, growing more and more severe. As an assassin, a little itch or pain was absolutely no problem, he had endured countless such trainings. But this itch was not ordinary. Internally, it was as if a cat was clawing at his heart, or someone was continuously tickling his very core with a feather. Moreover, the itch was also physical. In short, this kind of sensation was utterly unbearable. Barely 20 seconds passed before So-kyu could no longer endure it. He writhed on the ground, scratching incessantly. Mr. So-kyu, isn't this sensation, this flavor, absolutely delightful? Why aren't you continuing to feign death anymore? As Junloi watched his current state, his heart felt an immense satisfaction. To assassinate me, this is your end. This sensation, this punishment, is absolutely no less than the 10 great tortures of the Qing dynasty. Presumably, the legendary life and death talisman also inflicts a sensation similar to this. You kill me, kill me. So-kyu pleaded. Tell me, who ordered you to kill me? Then I will grant you a swift death, Junloi said slowly, in no hurry at all. I don't know, I really don't know. I merely accepted the mission, I have no knowledge of anything else. So-kyu's agony was unbearable. His body was already drenched in blood from his own incessant scratching, his flesh torn and shredded. Swanlon was overcome with nausea and quickly turned her head away. Seeing this sight, even Junloi felt his scalp prickle. He hadn't expected the ecstasy and agony elixir he concocted to be so terrifying. It truly lived up to its name, ecstasy and agony, without losing any of its meaning. You won't speak? If you don't speak, then just slowly enjoy this. Isn't the sensation extremely comfortable? Junloi said with a smile, seeing his refusal to speak. I can tell you, the elixir you are enjoying is called the ecstasy and agony elixir. It can make a person feel ecstasy and agony, from head to toe. Kill me, just kill me. By this point, So-kyu was on the verge of death, yet that torturous sensation still racked him. Junloi sighed. The rules of the Heavenly Star Pavilion were extremely strict, and he knew well that getting any information from these assassins was fundamentally impossible. And if he continued to torture him, he would truly become a great villain. He took out his wind concealment blade, gently swung it, and a blade aura ended So-kyu's life. Ding! Congratulations, player, for slaying Martial Emperor 4th Stage Assassin So-kyu. EXP plus 3,500,000, G cultivation value plus 35,000, accumulation points plus 35,000. Ding. Congratulations, player, for obtaining stealth technique. Asterisk stealth technique? So meager. Just a single stealth technique. He was a silver badge assassin, after all. Asterisk Dung Loi muttered inwardly. Dung Loi scrutinized it. This stealth technique still held some use for him. Stealth technique allowed one to move covertly, making it difficult for others to detect them. At crucial moments, an explosive burst could send an opponent to their demise. However, it wouldn't have much effect against true powerhouses. But he just happened to possess the breath-concealing ring, which could perfectly compensate for this drawback. Ding. Do you wish to learn stealth technique? Learn. Ding. Congratulations, player, you have mastered stealth technique. After learning stealth technique, he tried it out, and indeed, its utility was boundless. When he used stealth technique to ply his trade, especially at night, it would be extremely convenient. Thinking of stealth technique, Dung Loi was reminded of the ability of true invisibility, or an invisibility talisman. This ability of true invisibility was far superior to stealth technique, even a martial god-level powerhouse wouldn't be able to detect it. However, the system didn't have any skill books for such an ability available for exchange. Of course, there was also the invisibility talisman, which he had always wanted to craft, but unfortunately, he had no method for its creation. If he could ever learn true invisibility and then combine stealth technique with it, that would be utterly defying the heavens. But for now, it was just a thought. He didn't know when he would be able to obtain the ability of true invisibility. Reflecting, he wondered if he should exchange for something, or perhaps try gambling within the system. He had failed many times before, so he hadn't tried gambling for a while. As for the demonic wind fist art, he still had a copy and hadn't used it for gambling. Currently, he had 650,000 accumulation points. He originally had nearly 700,000. The last time he used the stormy pear blossom needles and then exchanged for another one, it consumed 30,000 accumulation points, leaving him with 650,000. With these 650,000 accumulation points, he could exchange for quite a lot of items. Of course, those truly exceptional treasures were still beyond his reach, only something he could gaze at. He meticulously reviewed the list, but there truly wasn't anything he wanted to exchange for. Originally, after Dung Thien Loi almost blew him away, Dung Loi wanted to exchange for a heaven-rumbling thunder. The regrettable thing was that he couldn't find any trace of the heaven-rumbling thunder within the system. This left Dung Loi endlessly frustrated, regretting that he hadn't killed Dung Thien Loi back then. If he had, he surmised, that heaven-rumbling thunder would likely have dropped. Chapter 126, Drunken Life, Dream Death Wine. 1. The skyrending thunderbomb possessed immense power. If he could exchange for 10 or 8 of them, he wouldn't need to worry even if he encountered a martial emperor-level expert. Should such a meeting occur, pelting them with a few would be utterly exhilarating. Even if one cost 100,000 accumulation points, Yang Lei would dare to exchange for it. There was also the secret manual for the little flying dagger. Yang Lei had been conflicted about this for a long time. If it were still 60,000 accumulation points as before, he would have exchanged for it without hesitation. But now, at 250,000 accumulation points, he ultimately decided against it after some thought. After all, he already possessed the soul pursuit technique. While it couldn't be unleashed in rapid succession, it seemed sufficient for his current needs. As he looked on, one item made Yang Lei's eyes light up. It was a jar of wine, a vessel unlike any ordinary wine bottle. Drunken Life, Dream Death Wine. An unparalleled fine wine, extremely effective for solidifying one's martial soul. After consumption, one's innate talent would permanently increase by 1 star. This wine would be of immense help to Yang Lei at his current stage. He was currently at the great perfection of the martial king realm, and to break through to the martial emperor realm, he needed to solidify his martial soul. Among the exchangeable items, only the Drunken Life, Dream Death Wine possessed this effect. Of course, he still had that soul-condensing pill, but the soul-condensing pill could only be consumed after he had broken through from great perfection martial king to martial emperor. Furthermore, the drunken life, dream death wine could also raise one's innate talent by 1 star, which was the most crucial aspect. Yang Lei's innate talent had already reached 8 stars, and raising it further was exceedingly difficult. Thus, the drunken life, dream death wine's ability to achieve this was no small feat naturally. This effect was only applicable upon the first consumption. If one were to drink too much, these benefits would cease. Otherwise, if one drank drunken life, dream death wine every day, wouldn't they become an unmatched prodigy, truly invincible across the cosmos? However, the number of accumulation points required to exchange for the drunken life, dream death wine left Yang Lei in despair. 350,000 accumulation points. This could already be considered a heaven-tier item. Previously, even dragon blood was only worth 500,000 points, yet a single jar of this wine required so many points. He desired it, but he was truly reluctant to part with them. This was no small sum, 350,000 points. He currently only had a total of 650,000 points. In other words, after exchanging for it, he would only be left with 300,000 points. Finally, Yang Lei gritted his teeth and decided to make the exchange. After all, the drunken life, dream death wine offered immense benefits for solidifying his martial soul. The strength of one's martial soul dictated their potential after entering the martial emperor realm. The more powerful the martial soul, the greater one's strength. Therefore, for Yang Lei, these 350,000 accumulation points were absolutely worth it. Ding! Congratulations to player for obtaining a jar of drunken life, dream death wine. Drunken life, dream death wine, a single jar like this was worth an exorbitant price, even saying it was sky-high didn't quite cover it. Of course, he couldn't drink it immediately. He needed to find a suitable place and the right time. Next, Yang Lei decided to gamble, yes, to gamble, using that frenzied demon fist art secret manual as his stake. After consuming 500 accumulation points, the gambling system activated. Just like before, there were 36 squares. 18 of them were empty, while the other 18 contained items. Among these, 9 items were of lower value than the frenzied demon fist art, while the remaining 9 were either of equal value or significantly higher. Naturally, to Yang Lei, aside from these 9 high-value items, anything else would not be considered a win, he would simply ignore them. The frenzied demon fist art was an Earth-tier 7th-grade cultivation method, already considered a rare, top-grade cultivation art. Anything of comparable value would naturally be no ordinary item. Among these 9 items, some had appeared before, the mysterious card fragment and that unknown small creature. As for the other 7 squares, what surprised Yang Lei the most was an array formation, the small spirit gathering array. Yang Lei was acutely aware of the power of a spirit gathering array. And this small spirit gathering array was truly incredibly powerful, arguably even more precious and practical than a regular spirit gathering array. If he could obtain the small spirit gathering array, Yang Lei would be overjoyed to death. This small spirit gathering array, as its name suggested, was a miniature version of the spirit gathering array. It could be set up in very small spaces, as tiny as a fist, or even smaller. If he could equip it on his person, for instance, by placing a small spirit gathering array on the back of his heavenly silkworm garment, his cultivation speed would implicitly increase by a significant margin. However, whether he could win this array formation through gambling was another matter entirely. After all, the probability was only 1 in 36. Winning wasn't as simple as merely desiring it. Among the other 6 squares, one item was the Iron Shirt Technique, Volume 3, something Yang Lei yearned for intensely. This Volume 3 was far more formidable than the frenzied demon fist art. If he could obtain it, he would be ecstatic, even more thrilled than getting the small spirit gathering array. The remaining 5 items were, in order, a soul-condensing pill, the Tiger's Fury Blade, heavenly silkworm gauntlets, a Herculean Vajra talisman, and the soul-capturing art. The soul-condensing pill, naturally, was useless to Yang Lei, as he already possessed one. Although the Tiger's Fury Blade was good, it would be useless if obtained, as his wind-hidden blade was already sufficient. As for the heavenly silkworm gauntlets, having them or not made little difference. The remaining items were the Herculean Vajra talisman and the soul-capturing art. The Herculean Vajra talisman was a 7-star spirit talisman. Upon activation, one's full strength would explosively increase 100-fold for 1 minute. This was an exceptionally powerful effect. With a 100-fold burst of strength, even a martial saint, Yang Lei would dare to contend with. them for a minute. Unfortunately, its duration was only 1 minute. As for the soul-capturing art, it could intimidate a person's divine soul and seize their mind. However, its effect was not great against those with stronger cultivation than himself or those with robust mental fortitude, and it was also prone to backlash. Hence, having it or not made little difference. Thus, among these 36 squares, only 5 options would truly satisfy Yang Lei. These included the mysterious card fragment and the unknown small creature. Yang Lei could sense the extraordinary nature of these 2 options, and he knew that acquiring either would certainly not result in a loss. Suppressing his slightly leaping heart, Yang Lei began to choose. Gambling begins. He watched as the squares on the circular tray began to flicker. Equals 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 Chapter 127, Drunken Life Dream Death Wine. 2. Within the 36 constantly shifting squares, the speed grew faster and faster, and Yang Lei's heart pounded in sync. This time, the item up for gamble was the Fiend Sealing Fist Art, an Earth Tier 7th grade fist art. If he didn't obtain anything worthwhile, he would suffer a great loss. A moment later, the pointer slowed, tracing its path ever more sluggishly, drawing closer to that mysterious card. Would it stop? Would it be the mysterious card? Yang Lei's heart thumped with excitement. Although he didn't know what this mysterious card was, it would surely be a winning bet for a grand prize. However, to Yang Lei's disappointment, the pointer did not stop at the mysterious card, it continued to advance slowly. An Earth Origin pill? That was not bad, but far from ideal. A water-scorching talisman? That was definitely unnecessary. Please don't stop there. If it landed on the water-scorching talisman, it would also be a significant loss, for this gambling system wasn't about recouping costs. Rather, no matter what he obtained, the Fiend Sealing Fist Art would be taken by the system regardless. To his relief, the pointer kept moving, not stopping at either the Earth Origin pill or the water-scorching talisman. Finally, the pointer landed on the Great Might Vajra talisman. Ding! Congratulations, player, you have obtained a Great Might Vajra talisman. Yang Lei was ecstatic. This Great Might Vajra talisman, a 5-star spirit talisman, could amplify one's battle prowess 100-fold. Although it lasted for only 1 minute, it was absolutely a life-saving trump card. Exchanging a Fiend Sealing Fist Art, which was of no benefit to himself, for this Great Might Vajra talisman was still worth it. The daily gamble could only be activated once. Otherwise, Yang Lei truly wanted to capitalize on his good luck and try another round. Flipping over the Great Might Vajra talisman for a quick look, he put it away, then returned to his room to prepare to consume the Drunken Life Dream Death Wine. Opening the wine jar, a rich, mellow aroma of wine immediately wafted out. This fragrant scent was intoxicating to the heart and spirit. He inhaled deeply. It was indeed a supreme quality wine, truly worthy of its name, Drunken Life Dream Death. Clutching the wine jar, he couldn't wait to take a sip. It instantly transformed into a stream of vital energy that flowed into his belly. Unlike the potent surges of dragon's blood, the spiritual energy of the Drunken Life Dream Death Wine gently and gradually permeated every part of his body, from the inside out. Utter comfort, pure bliss. Then, Yang Lei raised the wine jar and chugged, swallowing the entire contents in one go. The spiritual energy immediately coursed through his limbs and entire body, wave after wave continuously soothing every cell. It was as if he had consumed a ginseng fruit, all 36,000 pores on his body opened, none without a feeling of immense comfort, giving him a sensation of floating among immortals, living in a dreamlike haze. Yang Lei immediately sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and circulated the profound origin secret art to accelerate the absorption of spiritual energy. Under these circumstances, Yang Lei quickly entered cultivation. 1 cycle, 2 cycles. An hour later, Yang Lei opened his eyes again. His entire body seemed to possess inexhaustible strength. Although his cultivation hadn't broken through, his overall essence, qi, and spirit had improved considerably. Numerous minor injuries were healed, and it was as if he had been reborn, his skin becoming fair and delicate, like that of a newborn infant. The wine, it was indeed excellent wine. He checked his root bone aptitude, and indeed, it had become 9-star. Yang Lei pushed open the door and comfortably stretched his weary back, feeling an impulse to let out a loud shout. However, he figured the entire city would hear him, so he forcefully suppressed it. Such a rich aroma, such a fragrance. The scent of wine is coming from here. At that moment, a voice drifted from outside the door. Yang Lei raised an eyebrow. It seemed his wine was too fragrant, attracting a true connoisseur. Then, he saw a ruddy-faced old man, with a wine gourd hanging from his back, jump down from the wall. Yang Lei couldn't help but roll his eyes. This old man actually scaled the wall to get in. Ah. Little brother, greetings. Caught scaling a wall, old drunkard San felt a tad awkward. Greetings, venerable elder. Why have you scaled my wall? What is your intention? Yang Lei looked at the old man with interest, secretly activating his appraisal art. Ding. Player's level is too low. Appraisal failed. Appraisal failed, again. Yang Lei was startled, his appraisal had failed once more. This old man's cultivation was unfathomable. In the imperial capital of the Qianyuan kingdom, quite a few masters had suddenly appeared whose cultivation he couldn't appraise. It seemed the profound mystery sex wind and cloud selection had attracted many people. The Qianyuan kingdom was certainly bustling. Well, little brother, Old drunkard San rubbed his hands together and said, did you just drink some wine? Yang Lei nodded slightly. Indeed. Venerable senior, did you jump in just to ask me that? No, not quite. This, little brother, do you think we could discuss something? How about giving me a jar of the wine you just drank? Old drunkard San realized he'd found the right place. He instantly looked as though he'd taken a stimulant, his face flushed, unable to contain his excitement, staring wide-eyed at Yang Lei. Yang Lei shook his head and said, that wine is gone. I just finished drinking it. Gone? How could it be gone? Right, such fine wine isn't something one gives away so easily. Little brother, don't worry, I won't take your wine for nothing. Old drunkard San, still have some worth. Whatever you desire, just tell me. Even a divine artifact, I can acquire it for you. Old drunkard San patted his chest and declared. A divine artifact? Yang Lei couldn't help but gape in astonishment upon hearing this. This old man spoke of divine artifacts so casually. It seemed his background was truly terrifying. He doubted anyone in the entire Qianyuan kingdom would dare to claim they'd exchange a divine artifact for wine. This guy was definitely an old wine fiend, and a very wealthy one at that. Venerable senior, it's not that I'm unwilling, but this wine genuinely isn't available anymore. Yang Lei gave a wry smile. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't produce it now. He only had 300,000 cultivation points left, and the drunken life dream death wine required 350,000 points to redeem. So even if he were offered a divine artifact, he couldn't give him the wine. Old drunkard San, would never deceive you. If you want a divine artifact, I truly can give you one. You just need to give me some of that wine from earlier. Yes, the fragrance is still here, I can smell it. Chapter 128 The Old Drunkard. Jiao Lao-san hadn't given up yet. He casually pulled out a fan. The fan appeared ordinary, but a closer look would reveal its remarkable essence. Look here, this is a divine artifact, the Chankuan fan. You've grown to be so dashing, paired with this Chankuan fan, it would surely suit you perfectly. You'd undoubtedly be favored by many young maidens. Just give me a jar of that wine, and I'll give you this fan. What do you say? Yang Lei was greatly surprised. Upon inspection, it truly was a heaven-grade weapon. Chankuan fan, heaven-grade first rank, low-grade divine artifact. Crafted from heavenly silkworm silk and the bone wings of a 10th-level golden condor. Impervious to blades and spears, immune to water and fire. When unleashed, it can emit streaks of golden light and potent wind blades, inflicting immense destructive power upon enemies. Yang Lei greatly desired this Chankuan fan, but there was nothing he could do. He simply didn't have that many points. He had just appraised the Chankuan fan and received 20,000 points, bringing his total to only 320,000 points. Furthermore, even if he had 350,000 points, he wouldn't spend them all just like that. Of course, I want a divine artifact, but unfortunately, I truly have no more wine. Yang Lei spread his hands, saying with a hint of helplessness. Impossible. Little brother, you must be lying to me. Seeing Yang Lei refuse, Jiao Laosan vehemently shook his head. I can still smell the wine. How about I give you another item? What about this? Jiao Laosan then took out a spirit bell. It was no ordinary object either. This is a supreme-grade spirit artifact. In terms of effectiveness, it's no worse than the Qiankuan fan. What do you think of these two items? Exchanging them for one jar of wine would be a great bargain. Yang Lei's heart stirred, but he still shook his head. I truly don't have any, old senior. If you don't believe me, then follow me. The empty jar from the wine I just drank is still here. Jiao Laosan followed behind Yang Lei and entered the room. Yang Lei pointed at the empty wine jar on the table. See? That's it. I drank it all. Only an empty jar remains. The wine is truly gone. Seeing the wine jar on the table, Jiao Laosan acted as if he had seen some supreme treasure. He rushed forward and seized it in his hands. So fragrant. Excellent wine. Truly excellent wine. After saying that, he lifted the wine jar and inverted its mouth. A few drops of wine trickled into his mouth. This is truly peerless fine wine. I, Jiao Laosan, have truly lived in vain until now. This is what true fine wine tastes like. After drinking, Jiao Laosan squinted his eyes in intoxication, murmuring to himself. Seeing his appearance, Yang Lei couldn't help but feel bewildered. This was just a bit of leftover wine, there was absolutely no need for such a reaction. Although this wine was excellent, it wasn't as if there wasn't even better wine on the Chongwu continent. After a long while, Jiao Laosan finally opened his eyes and looked at Yang Lei. This wine, is there any more? Senior, it's not that I'm unwilling, but there truly isn't any more of this wine. Yang Lei said. There was only one jar of this wine, which I coincidentally acquired from the Immortal's Cave of a senior. Where is that Immortal's Cave? You lead me there. As long as you lead me there, I'll give you this spirit bell. What do you say? Jiao Laosan loved wine more than his life. Having just tasted the flavor of this drunken life, dream death wine, how could he possibly let Yang Lei go? Yang Lei was exasperated. Where was he supposed to find that Immortal's Cave? There was no such cave to begin with, so he could only say, Senior, after I left that Immortal's Cave, it collapsed and was destroyed. Where am I supposed to find it for you? Moreover, there was only one jar of such wine inside. I only brought it back because I saw that it could enhance one's one-star root bones. What did you say? This wine can enhance one-star root bones? Jiao Laosan grabbed Yang Lei's hand. Items that could enhance a person's root bones were rare, all considered heaven and earth treasures, extremely precious. For this wine to clearly be able to enhance root bones, it showed just how extraordinary it was, likely crafted from countless precious medicinal ingredients. Yang Lei nodded lightly. Yes, this wine can indeed enhance a cultivator's root bones. It was precisely by drinking this drunken life, dream death wine that my root bones were elevated to 1 star. Drunken life, dream death? This wine is called Drunken Life, Dream Death? As expected, it truly lives up to the name Drunken Life, Dream Death. Only a name like this could be worthy of such fine wine. After hearing this, Jiao Laosan slapped the table and exclaimed excitedly, but then he became dejected. What a pity, what a pity. If only I could drink a cup, how wonderful that would be. Yang Lei felt his forehead twitch. This old wine fiend was truly unrivaled. Senior. Little brother, is there truly no more of this wine? Just take pity on me. Suddenly, Jiao Laosan grabbed Yang Lei's arm and said. Yang Lei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This wine fiend was truly willing to resort to any means. I'm telling you, Senior, there's truly no more of this wine. Don't call me Senior. Jiao Laosan said with a slightly agitated expression. I'll call you Senior. You are my senior now. Do you still have any of this Drunken Life, Dream Death wine? Just give me a jar, no, a single cup will do. Never mind calling you Senior, you can even have me call you Ancestor. Cough cough. Senior, it's not that I won't let you drink this wine, it's truly gone. At least, for now, it's gone. You mean, it's gone for now, but there will be more later? Is that it? Jiao Laosan was like someone clutching at a life-saving straw, grabbing Yang Lei's arm. What else could Yang Lei do? He could only nod lightly. Currently, I truly have no way to get it, but in a few days, I can personally brew some. However, this kind of wine is too precious, brewing it is very difficult, and the ingredients are extremely hard to find. Really? You can really brew this drunken life, dream death wine? What ingredients do you need? Just tell me. Jiao Lao San, will go find them. Even if it's dragon liver and phoenix gall, I'll prepare them for you. After hearing Yang Lei say he could brew this kind of wine, Jiao Lao San was uncontrollably agitated. How could he care about anything else? He boasted enthusiastically. Dragon liver and phoenix gall? Senior, you can even get those? You're not trying to deceive me, are you? If you can truly obtain dragon liver and phoenix gall, I'll specially brew 100 gene of drunken life, dream death wine for you. Yang Lei glanced at him, pouting as he spoke. Jiao Lao San felt a bit awkward, saying sheepishly, well. Little brother, I got a bit too excited, I just spoke without thinking, please don't blame me. While dragon liver and phoenix gall might be beyond my reach, I can still get some so-called sacred beasts or 10th level divine beasts, or other relatively precious medicinal herbs and spirit grasses. Equals 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 Chapter 129, The Shifting Miscellaneous Task. 1. How many sacred beasts? What exactly was this old wine guzzler's true status? A few 10th rank divine beasts? Yang Lei couldn't help but gape. Was he implying that 10th rank divine beasts were like common pigs and goats, casually kept at home and easily slaughtered? What, little brother, do you still not believe me? Though my cultivation isn't high, this old third Jiao still possesses a modicum of ability. Seeing Yang Lei's expression, old third Jiao felt a slight twinge of displeasure and raised his voice. It was a long while before Yang Lei recovered from his shock. He looked at the old wine guzzler and said, I say, senior, what exactly is your esteemed status? This junior truly can't handle it. Didn't I tell you not to call me senior? You know how to brew such excellent wine, so you are my senior. You are my benefactor, my life sustenance. From now on, this old third will stick with you. You're my big brother, my senior. Just give me wine to drink, and that's all I care about. This old third doesn't care about anything else, only wine. After hearing about this drunken life, dream death wine today, I realized I've lived a useless life until now. What I drank before wasn't even as good as piss. Yang Lei felt a bit embarrassed hearing this. If this fellow were to become his follower, it wouldn't be bad at all. A super expert as a bodyguard was certainly a great thing. After all, once he accumulated enough points, he could simply exchange them for a jar of drunken life, dream death wine. At most, he'd give him 1 jar annually. Once his cultivation became powerful, earning points would become much easier. He just hoped the price of drunken life, dream death wine wouldn't increase. After all, 1 jar of drunken life, dream death wine cost 350,000 points. If the system's previous upgrade trends were anything to go by, a jar of wine might well jump from 350,000 to over 1,000,000 points. That would be absolutely ruinous. Senior. Call me senior again, and I'll get angry. Old third Jiao glared and said. Then what should I call you? Yang Lei immediately retorted in exasperation. Just call me old third. From now on, this old third is your young master's follower. As long as there's wine to drink, it's fine. Old third Jiao chuckled. As soon as he said this, Yang Lei suddenly wondered if there weren't other types of wine within the system. If he could exchange for some cheaper wines, that wouldn't be bad either. Besides, since there was already a life profession system, was there perhaps a brewing profession? If so, how could he unlock it? Follower? I say, senior, please stop toying with me. With your profound spirit cultivation, why would you joke around like this with me? Yang Lei had a feeling that old third Jiao hadn't come here by chance, but with some specific goal in mind. As for what that goal was, Yang Lei couldn't quite discern. Old third Jiao glared and said, how is this a joke? This old third speaks with the weight of 9 cauldrons. From now on, I am truly your young master's follower. However, this old third's wine supply will have to depend on you, young master. As you wish. Don't you want to drink wine? Then go gather the materials I need. This fellow clearly intended to stick to him now, so Yang Lei didn't hold back. He wrote down all the spiritual herbs and elixirs he needed for alchemy. These medicinal ingredients were all exorbitantly expensive, and some were not even available at the Evergreen Wind Merchant Guild. Seeing the massive list Yang Lei had written, Old Third Jiao let out a cry of alarm. Among them, one item made Old Third Jiao's mouth twitch. A Millennium Red Lotus Seed. This Millennium Red Lotus Seed was incomparably precious, its rarity no less than a yin-yang fruit, perhaps even surpassing it. Moreover, this item was exceedingly difficult to find, growing in volcanoes that had existed for 10,000 years. Such places were extremely perilous, even a martial god realm expert might not be able to obtain it. Well, young master, are you sure you need all of these? Old Third Jiao asked. Yang Lei nodded lightly, his tone calm. Of course. Otherwise, what do you think I wrote them down for? Seeing Old Third Jiao's expression, Yang Lei secretly rejoiced. If he agreed to find all the items on the list, then Yang Lei would have nothing more to say. Furthermore, if these items were indeed found, they would be of immense help to him, especially that Millennium Red Lotus Seed, which was crucially important to him. But, young master, this Millennium Red Lotus Seed, this. Old Third Jiao stuttered slightly. Yang Lei chuckled inwardly, but his face remained perfectly composed. But what? Is there something wrong with it? This prescription was obtained by me from that cave dwelling. It's precisely the prescription for that peerless delicacy, the drunken life, dream death wine. However, whether it's truly accurate or not, I'm not entirely sure. But, young master, can this Millennium Red Lotus Seed be substituted with another medicinal ingredient? It's truly too difficult to find. Finally, Old Third Jiao, looking awkward, said to Yang Lei, but inwardly, he secretly groaned, wondering if the young master was doing this on purpose. You can, yes. If you have a Millennium Azure Lotus Seed, that would be even better. Ah, but that's even worse than the Red Lotus Seed. Old Third Jiao clicked his tongue, muttering. The Millennium Azure Lotus Seed was even harder to acquire than the Red Lotus Seed, and one Millennium Azure Lotus Seed could almost be exchanged for 3 Millennium Red Lotus Seeds. Speaking of which, the reason Yang Lei wanted the Millennium Red Lotus Seed was for his profound origin secret art. If he could obtain either a Millennium Red Lotus Seed or a Millennium Azure Lotus Seed, his cultivation would advance several times faster. Of course, the best would still be a Violet Lotus Seed, but this Violet Lotus was a legendary item. In that case, young master, I'll go search for these spiritual medicines then. 1 year. Within 1 year, I'll definitely find these materials. Old Third Jiao guaranteed. 1 year? That's too long. Yang Lei shook his head. This. Young master, for these items, if it were anyone else, forget 1 year, they might not even get them in 10 years. Old Third Jiao was caught between laughter and tears. As you wish then. I don't mind not drinking wine. Yang Lei said indifferently. After Old Third Jiao left, Yang Lei couldn't stop wondering, who exactly was this Old Third Jiao? And why was he approaching him? Furthermore, the demands he had made were clearly excessive, yet Old Third Jiao had actually agreed, and even given him the Qiankuan fan and Gentian bell at the end. Could he be someone sent by his mother? Was she sending him to protect her son? Thinking about it, that was certainly a possibility. Chapter 130. The Evolving Mission Card. 2. He recalled the first time he had returned from cultivating in Yen Mountain, encountering a mysterious man. Did that man also have an agenda? Regardless, as long as they bore him no ill will, it was fine. What's more, the Qiankuan fan and Jintian bell were both exceptional treasures, only a fool would refuse them. If he didn't see such benefits, wouldn't he truly be a fool? Since he couldn't figure anything out, there was no point in dwelling on it. After all, the truth of the matter would surface one day. It simply wasn't the right time yet, ultimately due to his cultivation being too meager. The next day, Yang Lei continued his extreme cultivation in the courtyard, just as before. However, the weight-bearing vest he wore now weighed 300 kilograms, and the gravity talisman amplified gravity 15-fold. The combined weight from these two enhancements amounted to 4,500 kilograms. Such a burden would be unbearable for an ordinary martial emperor, let alone someone at the martial king realm. Even a martial sovereign would find it detrimental. Emerging from his bath, Yang Lei changed into fresh clothes. In the courtyard, the two maids each wielded a long sword, their blades flashing as they sparred, exchanging thrusts and parries. "Young master, you're awake. I'll go make tea for you immediately." Seeing Yang Lei step out, the two maids promptly stopped. Yang Lei shook his head. "No need. How is your cultivation progressing? Do you have any questions? If there's anything you don't understand, I can explain it to you." The two maids possessed decent innate talent. With the elixirs he had given them, they had broken through their cultivation ranks in a single night. Xiaozhu had reached the third stage of martial master, while Xianlan had also broken through, entering the second stage of martial master. Both showed a tendency for further breakthroughs. It was estimated that in a short while, they would advance another level. Yang Lei was quite satisfied with this. Some minor tasks wouldn't require his personal intervention, they could handle them instead. After guiding Xiaozhu and Xianlan through their misunderstandings, Yang Lei went to the study and sat down. The Fengyun selection was still over a month away. He mused that he should probably accept some missions, or perhaps something similar to the previous family trial. After all, the mission interface had already opened, and with the main quest being of such immense difficulty, what other missions could he possibly fear? Exchange system. Mission cards. Currently, mission cards were divided into 3 tiers: ordinary mission cards, plotline mission cards, and challenge mission cards. Ordinary mission cards involved standard tasks, similar to the family trial mission he had undertaken before. Plotline missions required entering somewhat unique scenarios to complete the system's requirements. As for the third type, challenge missions, these involved participating in challenges. Success brought rewards, but failure incurred punishments. The various mission tiers were clearly distinguished, with varying difficulties. However, the difficulty levels themselves were randomized, and the missions drawn were also random, though one could choose whether to draw an ordinary, plotline, or challenge mission. After a moment of hesitation, Yang Lei still opted for an ordinary mission. Ordinary missions required the fewest accumulated points, while plotline missions demanded the most. Currently, an ordinary mission card cost 1,000 accumulated points, a plotline mission card cost 30,000, and a challenge mission card cost 10,000. He spent 1,000 accumulated points to exchange for an ordinary mission card. Ding. Player, do you wish to open the mission card? Open it. Ding. Ambush mission unlocked. Mission rank, A. Mission requirement, ambush a Celestial Star Pavilion Gold rank assassin. Mission reward, determined by completion rating. Completion ratings are divided into ordinary, satisfactory, perfect. Note, a higher completion rating yields greater rewards. Mission failure, unknown punishment. The missions had changed, which greatly vexed Yang Lei. The rewards were unknown, and so were the punishments for failure. If the mission was to assassinate a gold rank assassin, it meant the Celestial Star Pavilion had dispatched one this time. Previously, the silver rank assassins they sent had reached the 4th stage of martial emperor cultivation. So what about a gold rank assassin? Wouldn't their cultivation potentially reach the martial sovereign realm? A martial sovereign level assassin. Yang Lei frowned. A martial sovereign level assassin would be difficult to deal with. In that case, he might have no choice but to use the pear blossom needles in a storm. Yang Lei knew well that relying too heavily on the pear blossom needles in a storm would be detrimental to his cultivation. However, his cultivation was too low, he had only just reached the great perfection stage of martial king. Clashing or fighting with a martial sovereign was fundamentally impossible to win, so he could only resort to using the pear blossom needles in a storm. Of course, if he didn't use the pear blossom needles in a storm, Yang Lei had another option, the Great Strength Vajra Talisman, which could increase his battle power 100-fold. But Yang Lei was reluctant to use it. Jokes aside, the Great Strength Vajra Talisman was his ultimate life-saving trump card, meant for dealing with martial saint-level experts. If he used the Great Strength Vajra Talisman this time, and a more formidable assassin appeared next time, wouldn't he be in peril? Thus, Yang Lei absolutely would not use the Great Strength Vajra Talisman lightly, especially when the opponent's cultivation hadn't reached the martial saint level. The Great Strength Vajra Talisman wasn't some common cabbage, there was no place to exchange for it, nor could he craft one himself. He only possessed this one, and once used, it would be gone. Perhaps he could think of other methods. The pear blossom needles in a storm were quite expensive too. But if he didn't use the pear blossom needles in a storm, could he truly win? If Baisujan were to awaken, that would be wonderful. After all, she was a martial saint, dealing with a mere martial sovereign would be no problem for her. Seek assistance? That wasn't a bad idea, but for some reason, his nominal master, Zhang Yi, had already left the capital and returned to the Xuanji sect. As for returning to the mighty king's manor, that was a joke, would he not be ridiculed? So, who could he seek? As he pondered, a flash of inspiration struck Yang Lei's mind. Elder Gu. Yes, Elder Gu. Elder Gu's cultivation was unfathomably profound, a mere gold-rank assassin would be nothing to him. What's more, he could ask Elder Gu for advice and guidance on his own cultivation. Yang Lei felt his cultivation had stalled at the great perfection stage of martial king. Of course, he could also grind monsters to level up, but if he could break through this bottleneck himself, he might gain unexpected insights. After all, since he began cultivating, he had never relied on his own abilities to break through such barriers, always depending on grinding monsters to gain EXP and advance. Chapter 131, Sword 13. 1. If it were possible, he would certainly test its efficacy. Even if he couldn't achieve a breakthrough himself, killing a gold medal assassin would undoubtedly raise his level, allowing him to advance from the great perfection of martial king to the martial emperor realm. At that point, his strength would experience an immense surge. Moreover, his profound origin secret art had also reached the precipice of a breakthrough. It seemed he could advance at any moment, yet he consistently failed. Yang Lei felt a touch of helplessness, always just a hair's breadth away, a gentle nudge all that was needed for success. Perhaps he could seek assistance from Elder Gu to overcome his current bottleneck. He recalled that when he had parted ways with Elder Gu and Gu Jing previously, they had mentioned staying at the welcoming Immortal Inn. This establishment was the grandest inn in the capital, spanning 4 floors. The first floor was dedicated to dining and entertaining travelers, while the second to 4th floors offered lodging, categorized into heavenly, earthly, and mortal rooms. Upon entering the inn, he heard a shop assistant inquire, "Esteemed guest, are you here to lodge, or perhaps?" Yang Lei cut him off directly, "I'm looking for someone, an elderly gentleman named Gu." "Ah, so you're looking for him," the shop assistant exclaimed. "He and his granddaughter went out today and haven't returned yet. It was a wasted trip after all." Could this be heaven's will? It seemed he would have to personally deal with that gold medal assassin. He hoped the fellow's cultivation hadn't surpassed the martial emperor realm. With Elder Gu absent, Yang Lei could only depart. Just as Yang Lei reached the exit, the shop assistant rushed after him. "Esteemed guest, please wait a moment." Yang Lei paused, turning his head to ask, "What is it?" The shop assistant replied, "If young master has an urgent matter, I can find someone to escort you." Yang Lei was startled, staring at him. "You know where Elder Gu is?" The shop assistant nodded slightly, explaining, "That elderly gentleman mentioned when he left that if anyone sought him for an important matter, I should arrange for someone to lead them to him." Yang Lei's suspicion stirred. Why had this shop assistant remained silent before, only to speak up now? Moreover, if Elder Gu had truly left such instructions, there would be no need for a guide, he could have simply told Yang Lei directly. Why complicate matters? Thus, this shop assistant was certainly problematic, very likely a gold medal assassin from the Heavenly Star Tower. True Eagle Eyes. With True Eagle Eyes activated, its true appearance was indeed revealed. This fellow had used a disguise. Though not overtly obvious, it was undeniably a transformation. Would a mere shop assistant truly need such elaborate adornment? Furthermore, Yang Lei also observed calluses on the shop assistant's hands, clearly not from prolonged labor, but rather from the rigorous practice of swordsmanship. Appraisal Art. Sword 13, Gold Medal Assassin of the Heavenly Star Tower. Cultivation, Martial Emperor First Stage. Proficiencies, Disguise Arts, Killing Sword Art. Upon reviewing Sword 13's attributes, Yang Lei, to his surprise, let out a silent breath. This fellow's cultivation was merely at the Martial Emperor First Stage, he had no need to overly fret. Had his cultivation been formidable, at the great perfection of Martial Emperor or even a Martial Saint, then the situation would indeed be dire. Very well, then lead the way. Since his opponent desired this, why shouldn't he turn the tables and use their own scheme against them? He could still contend with a martial emperor first stage, though it would necessitate expending a storm pear blossom needle. Sword 13 exchanged a word with the innkeeper, then strode out. Yang Lei followed close behind. The two proceeded along the road, and after navigating several winding turns, found themselves on a narrow forest path. Hey, shop assistant brother, what's the situation? Is Elder Gu truly here? Yang Lei spoke aloud, yet in his hand, the storm pear blossom needles were already poised, ready to be unleashed at any moment. Sword 13 knew that his deception had now fully aroused Yang Lei's suspicion and was likewise preparing to strike. One strike, certain kill. Sword 13 cultivated the killing sword art, which emphasized a concealed aura and an instant, fatal blow, for the sword, once drawn, would always find blood. Young master need not fret, it's just a short distance ahead. Meanwhile, Yang Lei had been meticulously observing. The moment he detected Sword 13's inclination to strike, he covertly triggered the mechanism of the storm pear blossom needles. Instantly, tens of thousands of venomous needles erupted, showering towards Sword 13. Their immense coverage and blinding speed left Sword 13 utterly no time to react. Though Sword 13 had attained the martial emperor realm and possessed protective chi, his chi was far too weak. How could it possibly withstand the boundless might of the storm pear blossom needles? The dense, bristling steel needles immediately tore through his protective chi, embedding themselves directly into his flesh. The potent venom coating each needle instantly permeated every part of his body, dissolving into his bloodstream and rushing through his veins to his heart. Even a Grand Luo Golden Immortal would struggle to save him. You, how did you discover me? Even as a first-stage martial emperor expert, he managed to gasp out those words, a resilience Yang Lei couldn't help but admire. Yet, no sooner had the words left his lips than he collapsed, lifeless. Ding! Congratulations, player, for slaying Sword 13, a first-stage martial emperor. EXP plus 10 million, accumulation points plus 100,000, chi cultivation value plus 100,000. Ding! Congratulations, player, your level has increased. Ding! Congratulations, player, you have acquired the killing sword art. Ding! Congratulations, player, you have completed an A-rank mission, Phase 1 of the assassination of a Heavenly Star Tower gold medal assassin. His level now raised, and having entered the martial emperor realm, Yang Lei hastily retrieved a soul condensing pill and consumed it, immediately beginning to solidify his martial spirit. As a 6th grade medicinal pill, and moreover, a product of the system, the soul condensing pill was naturally beyond comparison with ordinary elixirs. The moment the soul condensing pill entered his body, a vast surge of soul power surged through his 4 limbs and 8 meridians, then into his mind, continuously merging and compressing itself. Yang Lei felt as if his head would explode. The immense martial spirit power began to solidify, ceaselessly condensing, transforming into a viscous liquid, which then slowly gathered, continuing its compression. Rumble. A resounding explosion then echoed within his mind. The martial spirit had coalesced. A delicate, golden martial spirit coalesced within Yang Lei's sea of consciousness. Its eyes were tightly shut, a perfect miniature replica of Yang Lei himself. With a slight thought from Yang Lei, it opened its eyes, a truly wondrous sensation. At this very moment, Yang Lei had truly, officially entered the martial emperor realm. His strength had once again surged significantly. Now, even if he were to face Sword 13, a first-stage martial emperor, he could contend with him fiercely without needing to resort to the storm pear blossom needles. Chapter 132, Keem Thap Tam. 2. As soon as his martial spirit manifested, Yang Lei's spiritual power increased several-fold. Subtle and minute changes in his surroundings were all within his grasp. His eyes became even clearer, capable of seeing further, and coupled with the true eagle eye, it became even more profound. The duration he could activate the true eagle eye increased. Activating the true eagle eye consumed a vast amount of spiritual power. Previously, Yang Lei could only sustain it for a maximum of 1 hour, after which he had to recover his spiritual power. But now, with Yang Lei's cultivation breaking through once more, his spiritual power had multiplied, allowing him to sustain the true eagle eye for an additional hour. What surprised Yang Lei, however, was that this assassination mission had clearly only been partially completed. In other words, Celestial Star Pavilion would continue to send gold-ranked assassins to ambush him. This trouble, would it never end? It seemed he needed to deal with the client who issued the mission first. His primary suspect was naturally Yang Bing, followed by Yang Tianlei. So it was only a partial completion, yet he hadn't expected that even this partial completion came with no reward. Yang Lei was utterly speechless. This system was truly too stingy. Killing a martial emperor first stage, Keen Thap Tam, only yielded a single slaughter sword art. Slaughter sword art, the ultimate technique of the slaughter sword sect, an earth rank, 9th grade cultivation technique. It used killing intent to cultivate sword techniques. When facing an enemy, one would conceal their aura, then at the crucial moment, erupt with killing intent that soared to the heavens, focusing on one strike, one kill. This was a decent cultivation technique, a sword cultivation technique. Furthermore, it required powerful killing intent. Condensing killing intent was not an easy feat, but of course, once mastered, the power of this slaughter sword art was beyond doubt. If it were a blade art, that would be truly great. However, sword arts weren't impossible to cultivate either, but, he thought for a moment, then decided to put it away for now and consider it later. When Yang Lei emerged from the small grove and stepped onto the main road, he discovered Elder Gu clearly sitting ahead. He rubbed his eyes, realizing it truly was Elder Gu. He walked forward. Elder Gu, it really is you. I thought I was mistaken. Good. Lad, not bad. I was worried you were in danger, Elder Gu said. Never thought you'd have such powerful hidden weapons. Even a martial emperor first stage. Gold-ranked assassin was killed by you. Who did you offend, boy, for them to send a gold-ranked assassin to intercept and kill you? Elder Gu stood up, brushed off some dust, and asked, full of curiosity. Elder Gu, you've been following me all this time? Yang Lei was rather surprised. Indeed. When you sought me out earlier, I knew, Elder Gu nodded. I didn't realize that assassin's target was you, so I didn't intervene, but secretly followed. Hearing this, Yang Lei was filled with immense admiration for Elder Gu. To have followed him for so long without being detected clearly showed how formidable Elder Gu's cultivation was, the gap between them truly immense. But he grumbled aloud, Elder Gu, you're truly not benevolent. Since you knew, why didn't you show yourself earlier? You made this junior waste precious hidden weapons to deal with that fellow. Those things are single use, one less after each use. They're very precious. Elder Gu coughed and said, don't blame me for this. I originally intended to help you, but I didn't expect you, young man, to act so quickly. Yang Lei had no retort, those words were indeed true. Right, boy, you still haven't told me why you were ambushed by a Celestial Star Pavilion gold-ranked assassin, Elder Gu continued. Getting involved with them is a huge trouble. Those fellows from Celestial Star Pavilion are all people who prioritize money over life. Once they accept a mission, unless the client cancels it or the client dies, they will relentlessly pursue their target. That Celestial Star Pavilion has a few old fogies whose cultivation is truly terrifying. Elder Gu sighed, as if recalling something. It seemed Elder Gu also had a past story, and this story was related to Celestial Star Pavilion. Otherwise, he wouldn't have shown such an expression or used such a tone. Although I don't know the specific individual, there are only 3 or 4 suspects, Yang Lei said. I will find a way to resolve this matter myself. However, those assassins are indeed troublesome. If I hadn't accidentally discovered a flaw this time, things truly would have turned out badly. Right, boy, how did you spot the flaw? Elder Gu was extremely curious about this point. By looking at his hands, Yang Lei explained. The hands of a shop assistant and the hands of a martial artist who practices sword arts are vastly different. His fingers were fair and slender, how could a shop assistant's hands be so fair? Moreover, he had calluses on his palms, which were clearly not the same as those on a shop assistant's hands. There's a huge difference there, one glance is enough to tell. Indeed, you are meticulous, Elder Gu nodded slightly. The fact that you can observe in such detail shows that you are a very careful person. On the path of cultivation, one must possess such a mindset to go far. However, the path of cultivation doesn't rely solely on carefulness, it also requires patience and resilience. If one can possess an unyielding spirit and endure loneliness, only then can one achieve great things and roam the peaks of the martial world. Yang Lei nodded slightly, though inwardly he didn't entirely agree. These were all words for others. As for him, he only needed to kill, constantly trampling over the bones of others to achieve his own peak. The so-called one general success is built upon 10,000 withered bones. He possessed the omnipotent cultivation system, and relying on the system was the best way to level up. It was to kill, to ceaselessly kill, to kill all the way. In the end, he would stand at the peak of the Chongwu continent, at the pinnacle of Xianyuan Star. Your killing intent is too heavy, Elder Gu remarked, glancing at him at that moment. Yang Lei's heart skipped a beat upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Elder Gu's senses to be so keen. He had only just released a hint of killing intent, yet it was clearly perceived. For a cultivator to possess killing intent is naturally a good thing, Elder Gu said earnestly. But if it's too heavy, it's not good. Excessive. Killing intent is detrimental to cultivation, especially making it difficult to improve one's state of mind. One can easily be suppressed by inner demons, thus falling into chi deviation, entering the demonic path, and never recovering. Therefore, cultivation is truly also a test of the heart. Thank you for the reminder, Elder Gu. This junior will remember. Yang Lei was inwardly startled, and nodded lightly. The state of mind in cultivation was indeed very important. He couldn't rely too much on the system. If that were the case, what if one day the system was gone? Where would he go then? Equals 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 equals